All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the video notes for Chapter 10, Section 8, Equations of Circles. We have spent the entire chapter discussing various relationships that exist in circles between line segments, angles, and arcs with various names: chords, diameters, radii, minor arc, major arc, semicircle, circumference. We've talked about a lot of different things, but the one thing we have not done is we have not talked about what these look like when we graph them on the coordinate plane. So that's what section 10.8 is for. We're going to discuss the equation of a circle. So any circle on the coordinate plane has two defining features. It has a center, which we are going to represent with the point HK, right here, HK. And it has a radius defining the distance between the center and the circle itself, which we're calling R. This results in the standard form of the equation of a circle. Again, center at HK, radius of R, which is x minus h quantity squared plus y minus k quantity squared equals R squared, right here. Okay? So we are going to practice using that. This is going to take a series of videos because we're going to break it up by topic. This first video will discuss how to write the equation of the circle from that information, from the center and the radius. So, starting with, very straightforward, example A says it will have a center at 1, -8 and a radius of 7. Well, that means that our h value is 1, our k value is -8, and our r value is 7. So again, we have our equation, x minus h quantity squared plus y minus k quantity squared equals r squared. So that would be x minus 1 quantity squared plus y minus -8 quantity squared equals 7 squared. Now there are several things we can do to clean that up. Well, I shouldn't say several. There are two things we can do to clean that up. The x is already as clean as it's going to get. We leave it as quantity x minus 1 squared. However, the y, these two negatives can be changed into a positive, so we can change that to y plus 8 quantity squared. And then tradition dictates that we take 7 squared and we actually carry out that calculation. 7 squared is 49. So the equation of the circle would be x minus 1 quantity squared plus y plus 8 quantity squared equals 49. Now, we don't have to just give you the center and the radius straight up. There are other ways we can present that information. So we're going to see that over the next several examples. Starting with, I could just give you a graph of a circle and say, tell me the equation. Well, all we need to do is pull from that equation the center, which is at 0, 4, and we need to figure out the radius. Well, the radius is the distance between the center and any point on the circle. And whether we go up, down, left, or right, we should be able to count that length and notice that it's the same in all three directions. The radius is 3 units. So we have h equals 0, k equals 4, and r equals 3. Again, our equation is in the form x minus h quantity squared, y minus k quantity squared equals r squared. So that would be x minus 0 quantity squared, y minus 4 quantity squared equals 3 squared. Again, there's a couple of things that we can do to clean that up. First of all, we do not need to write x minus 0. We can just leave that as x squared. The y minus 4 is already as clean as it's going to get, so we leave it alone. And 3 squared is 9. So in standard form, the equation of the circle in that graph is x squared plus y minus 4 quantity squared equals 9. Pause the video and try the two examples on the next slide, then resume the video and see how you did. In example 1a, we are told the center is at the origin and the radius is the square root of 10. Well, hopefully we all know that the origin is the point 0, 0. That's what origin means. It is the point 0, 0. And the radius, being the square root of 10, might throw you off briefly, but it shouldn't be too much of a problem. So we have h equals 0, k equals 0, and r equals the square root of 10. Again, we have x minus 0, quantity squared, y minus 0, quantity squared, equals the radius squared. I'm actually regretting not writing the equation first, so I'm going to see if I can fix that. Moving this down, there we go. And I'm going to write the equation in there so that we have it. X minus h quantity squared, y minus k quantity squared equals r squared. Now again, we can clean that up. X minus 0, we don't need to write the 0. We can just leave that as x squared. Y minus 0, we don't need to write the 0. We can leave that as y squared. Equals the square root of 10 squared, which is 10. The root and the exponent cancel each other out, and our equation would be that. X squared plus y squared equals 10. In the second example, this one's probably a little bit easier for most of you. H is 4, k is negative 1, and if the diameter is equal to 8, then the radius is half of that, or 4. So the radius is 4. Again, x minus h, quantity squared, y minus k, quantity squared, equals r squared. So, x minus 4, quantity squared, plus y minus negative 1, quantity squared, equals 4 squared. You should have gotten quantity x minus 4 squared plus quantity y plus 1 squared equals 16. That does it for the first video in the series. Thank you very much for your time and attention.